So my next release is in August. It is coming next month, which is super soon, but I can't give you the name of the song just yet, and I can't give you the meaning behind the lyrics because I'm saving that for my special announcement, which will be coming in about 2 weeks. My favorite song that I've written would probably have to be Shockwaves, which I haven't released publicly on Spotify and all of that. But for those of you who have been following my journey for a while, you would have heard me sing it live quite a number of times. For one that I have released and is one of my favorites is Stealing Kisses. So if you haven't heard it before, I recommend you jump on Spotify and you can have a listen. And Stealing Kisses is about my first date that I had with my husband back quite a few years ago now. I've obviously been writing a lot during COVID, but one thing that I have been doing quite a bit of is writing and collaborating with other artists, particularly DJs and producers that do EDM, pop, and electronica music. So I've got some cool stuff that'll be coming out later this year as side projects, as well as my own stuff that I've been working on as well. Ooh, my favorite bottle of red would have to be a South Australian wine, particularly Wolf Blass. Love Wolf Blass. And my favorite type of red wine is Cab Sav or Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm 24 years old. Ooh, good question. Um, I honestly couldn't give you a number, but to give you an idea, just in my phone notes, I have about 250 song ideas or half finished songs. And that doesn't include the stuff that I was writing in high school and my handwritten songs as well that I used to write in notebooks. So I've probably written hundreds. I love music because it's so freeing. It's like the one thing that I can go to and everything else just disappears for that moment when I'm playing guitar or writing or singing. It's like, it's just the best. How am I? I am good. I'm really good. It's been an interesting season going through COVID-19 and being at home a lot more than I usually am. But I can honestly say that it's been really nice to kind of get back to basics, have a lot more time resting and investing time in my music, and also just spending more time with my husband and being with family where I can. Good question. Um, I grew up around music. My dad played quite a bit of guitar when I was a kid. My mum sang. Even my brother, I remember he had a whole bunch of instruments in his room and played a bit of drums when I was growing up. And like I remember when I was like 4 or 5, maybe, I might have been a little bit older, but I was really young. And I used to sneak into my brother's room to play on his bass guitar that he had in there. So I think I've always had a draw to learn music and to be around music, but I didn't officially start learning guitar until I was 10, and then I started properly singing when I was 13. I started writing songs when I was about 13. And I started writing them as poems. So I used to do a lot of poetry, and it was like a way that I could get my emotions out and process my feelings. And I particularly started writing about my brother. At the time, he was living in the US, and I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I missed him a lot. So a way for me to kind of process those emotions was I would put them into poems. And later on in my teens, when I was about 16, I worked out and learned how to apply all those poems to actual notation and guitar chords and piano chords. Biggest influence, I'd have to say Shania Twain. Like when I was really little, I would always watch Shania Twain music videos and I loved her Up album. It was a two-part CD album. And I remember watching her videos though and thinking, I was like 5. I remember thinking, gosh, I want to do that. I want to do that one day. So I would definitely say she's probably my biggest influence from a music perspective. Favorite artist? I don't have a favorite, to be honest. I've got so many musicians and singer-songwriters that I love. And they change seasonally as well, depending on kind of what I'm getting inspired by and what I'm listening to. But at the moment, my favorite artists would have to be Tori Kelly. Love her latest album, and I love listening to all of Jules' old stuff as well at the moment. My favorite cover song to perform would have to be Dreams. It's like I'll sing that until I probably die. I love that song. It's my favorite song by Fleetwood Mac. That's a very good question. Funnily enough, I did. The reason that I picked Soda Pop was Soda Pop had a better ring to it. It's very open, like soda pop, whereas Soft Drink is very abrupt. So I specifically chose Soda Pop because it just flowed with the song a lot better. I do listen to classic country. My favorite would have to be Patsy Cline. And I got to go to her museum when I was in Nashville last year, and that was just amazing. And next would probably be Johnny Cash. And then after that would probably be Dolly Parton as my top faves. In terms of my favorite country artist of all time, though, I would still pick Shania Twain. For those of you who don't know what My Australian Country is, it's a radio station here in Australia. I don't actually listen to a whole lot of radio. I'm very much into Spotify now, where I can discover new artists on there through playlisting and kind of what I'm feeling at the time as well. But My Country Australia plays a lot of local Aussies, and I do love to support local Australian music, especially in country. And a couple artists include like Melanie Dyer, you've got Casey Barnes, and even more local again, you've got people like Michelle Gardner and Amber Lawrence as well. So there are a couple artists that I listen to. My husband laughed at this question because he's like, "You don't have a favorite movie," which is true. I don't have a favorite movie. I've got a couple that I love, like The Proposal, The Hot Chick, and Freaky Friday. But I mainly just love any rom-coms or comedy movies. As you've probably gathered so far, no, I'm not single. I am very happily married. So when I'm not making music, lately I've been doing a lot of scrapbooking. So I've actually just finished my wedding album, which is super cute. And another thing that I love to do is I like to cook and do a lot of baking. So one of my favorite dishes is I make a really good pumpkin pie. It tastes so good. And I also make a really great lasagna. Where am I from? I was born in Queensland, but I was raised for a long time in the United States as a kid. So it's why my accent goes in and out. And I came home to Australia when I was about 10, but I am Australian born, so I would say that I'm from Australia. First thing I do when I wake up is I have a huge skull of water. And I read somewhere that it's super good for you to drink lots of water when you first wake up. So that's what I do. So I've actually already been to India once before for a few weeks, about 2 years ago, down in the south of India. Really enjoyed it, and of course I'd love to come again, but unfortunately I've got to wait until it's safe to travel and when Australia opens its borders again. That's a hard question because every producer I've worked with has brought their own unique personality and skills to the job, and every single producer I've worked with has been awesome, and I've had an amazing experience with all of them. So shout out to Steve Deal, Simeon Shinkfield, John Capek. Shout out to George Chara, who've done quite a few tracks with, and Rob Amoruso as well, who I'm working on some new stuff with at the moment as well. So shout out to all you guys. I love you all. And there's definitely others that I've worked with, and I can't think of them all on the top of my head. But yeah, I don't have a favorite.